Hi, welcome to another episode of TakChek or PekChek.
I'm Weiren,
I'm Nicholas.
and we are an education lifestyle podcast where each week we discuss a topic and we decide whether or not it is interesting, which is
TakChek,
or frustrating, which is
PekChek.
right. So for today's discussion topic, so recently I believe Education Minister Mr. Chun mentioned that quite a number of things, okay, that I believe was aimed at helping school teachers obtain some sort of work-life balance. So he mentioned that school teachers shouldn't be unnecessarily giving out their contacts, okay, and he also mentioned a number of issues that led to this these policies or led to this speech lah. Okay, so essentially because a number of parents were escalating some school issues unnecessarily and overstepping boundaries with the teachers, right? So what do you have to say about that, Nicholas?
I think this whole thing here comes very much because of the advancement of communicative technologies, right?
Yes.
If you think about it. So back in the time, if let's say you actually have to communicate with the teachers, and I'm talking about like at our time, I think that's close to like 20 plus years ago, we usually use telephone. All right, we have for those outings that you go to the zoo, you go to the bird park, or you science center,
form,
you have consent form. All right, and it's a certain kind of like a death sentence. If let's say you sign the consent form but you didn't bring the consent form, then you start to get panicking and all. And I think only when we are about to leave primary school, I think that was early 2000, that's where the advent of email actually came.
Yes.
But even then, you see, telephone maybe
not common, I think.
It's not common.
Yeah.
But even then, telephones itself, I think it's a more immediate, but teachers have to be summoned to the staff room.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a hassle.
And back then also, handphones couldn't send like rich media, like PDF
no.
or pictures.
Yeah, just
right?
SMS.
Yeah, so
just,
SMS only. Yeah.
Yeah, so do you, during your primary school days, is there any incident that your parents had to bring you out early from the school?
Not. I think there were once or twice where I was sick, then my parents had to come and fetch me from the school. Okay. So I mean, usually this kind of thing, what will happen is that the school teacher will bring me to the sick bay first.
Okay.
And then after that, I'll be lying there in the sick bay. Then the form teacher or the admin person will be phoning my parent to give them a call. But sometimes, if my mom or my dad is like out and about, right, it's impossible to reach them because they have no handphone. I think back then, during
Got
the
pager?
90s, like there's a pager lah.
Okay.
So I think at the very least, my parents got the memo. All right. I don't recall an incident of me being in school for an extended period of time just because they couldn't catch my parents. Okay. But yeah, I do believe these kind of things happen as well.
Mine was, I have the occasional weddings and all. I don't know. I recall I felt like I'm the cool kid in the class, because my mom...
You get to leave early, right?
Yes, my mom came to the class. She was outside of the class corridor. Then she whispered something to the teacher, and the teacher said, "Okay, Nicholas, come. You can pack your bag. You need to leave with your mother." Oh, felt like a VIP when I can leave early from there.
Yes.
Yeah, but you do have to agree that the penetration of more of this instantaneous form of communications like WhatsApp, Telegram has cultivated this expectation of an immediacy in reply.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, I send you now. I don't care about the timing. I just want to reply from there. And I think this will eventually be discussed as we go through today's episode. But I think students nowadays they feel less ownership in terms of events that they need to remember to do. Because if let's say I forget to bring the consent form, I can just dial up my mom, I can just send a tele or send a WhatsApp to my mother, and then my mother will come along and hand over the things. So even I can just send the rich media.
Yeah, the email or send over like a WhatsApp PDF, a signed version of the WhatsApp PDF, right?
But if let's say it was just consent form, the occasional one, I think as modern days educators, we can close one eye a little bit. I think it's just maybe a genuine mistake. But when do you think that this becomes too common and it removes the responsibility from the students to actually have a chance to understand causation and effect? You don't do it, this is what you're gonna kena, from there.
I think I feel that sometimes let's take like this period for example. Now is the exam period. sometimes I have students that are cramming like late into the night.
Okay.
But after for us in this line, we finish our work late. We finish at 10 o'clock. So after I go home, I want to relax. I want to, I don't know, just sit down and then watch TV or something. But sometimes students will like spam messages, and at times I really have no capacity.
It's our printer warming up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So at times I really have no capacity to answer. And sometimes when I answer my students, my wife will scold me that, hey, why are you answering students so late at night as well? So I think at times really I do not answer them, and then the next day is the exam.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you,
and on some level I also feel a bit guilty because I wasn't able to deal with their queries lah.
okay, but maybe as us as private educators over here, we have sort of like I feel there's more of a moral and transactional obligation because a fee was rendered.
Yes.
I want this, but we'll talk about that in a separate time later.
Yes.
But for school educators, these are like government teachers and all.
Yes.
And because there was incident that parents actually wrote to the media. All right, and sometimes they even jump up the hierarchy. They went up to Minister Chun saying, all right, and even turn up at the Meet the Parents session, Meet the People session, all right, and have even sent loyal letters to air their grievances against teachers that doesn't respond timely, doesn't give assistance when they deem that it is urgent. From there, what do you feel about that? Like, now it's like a minefield for the teachers,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, teachers are working professionals too, especially the school teachers. I mean, they are working professionals too. They are definitely not subject to the parents and students back and call. They have standard working hours. They have a life outside of school. So yeah, I feel that it's perfectly reasonable to not expect the teacher to be at the parents like every whim and fancy. To answer at the parents every whim and fancy.
I am myself, so if let's say I'm an anxious parent, so if let's say we both have young kids, so if let's say tomorrow there's an outing that's happening, and again, the context here is that our kids are young, all right, so if let's say tomorrow there's an outing, tomorrow there's a concert and whatsoever, if I were to text the teachers at a later than usual timing, and let's be reasonable, I say like maybe 5 p.m, 6 p.m, when I text, I feel a little bit iffy. I felt like that is a little bit infringing on their boundaries already. I text, but you can feel like at this point of time now, you can't just hold your kid and put them in front and say, hey, tomorrow what's going to happen? Because they're young and they can't express themselves, or maybe their memory is not mature yet. So I feel that, this parent, teacher and student trinity itself is very much more on the side of the parent-teacher when the kid's very young. So I think the parent-teacher communication is very important.
Yes.
But as they get older, do you agree that there must be a shift towards more of a teacher-student kind of a relationship and the parents take a backseat?
Yes, of course. I think once they hit secondary school, the students should take more ownership of their own learning and of their own timetable, their own schedules, their own responsibilities, of course. I don't know, I feel that this is appropriate, it's age appropriate once they hit secondary school, Sec 1 even. I think for myself, my kid, even as early as now, there are some responsibilities that I expect him to do. Like I don't pack my son's bag for him. Every day I prepare some money for him. But I put, my wife prepares like a set of daily pocket money. And he is supposed to go to that box and then take the pocket money.
So it's integrity based lah.
Yes. So there will be times where he forget to bring his wallet.
Okay, and that's it.
And that's it. Okay. So thankfully his school teacher is nice, and I feel that this one also has. I'm not sure if the school teacher should be doing this, or I personally feel it's particularly nice that the school teacher does this. I know that the school teacher lends money to the kids for them to have recess, but the kids must return the next day. Okay. So I always remind him like verbally, like, oh, did you return to your teacher the amount of money that you borrowed yesterday? Or since you didn't bring your wallet today, how much do you need to return to the teacher? I'll ask him.
Just to add something to that, back in my parents' school days, definitely there has been time that my parents didn't give me pocket money or I didn't take the pocket money. My dad and I, or should I say my father, has a very peculiar policy. Maybe you let me know if it's something that is around the generation of parents. He strictly forbids me from borrowing money. strictly
Yes.
forbids.
Yes.
There was once I think I did bring money to school, but I just want to borrow $1 from my friend to buy those fancy eraser from the school bookshop. And I think those are like really like student traps and all. My father caught wind of it. You know, me being the goody two shoes, I go, but oh, I bought this thing. It was $2. My father said, "You have $1. How do you get another $1?" I said, "I borrowed." Wow, I got whacked upside down from that. Like he wanted me to make sure that I spend within my means.
Okay.
Yeah, he don't want me to like leverage on other people's money, you know, and spend outside of my means. And then it becomes like a habit of, if I don't have, I will just borrow to satisfy.
I think this will depend on household to household. Personally, I would discourage such practices from my son as well. But I am aware that my son does borrow money from the school teacher in order to be, if only in an emergency. Let's say if he really doesn't didn't bring his school pocket money.
But on the case of things like 听写, consent form, or anything that requires the student to come back to you, you sign and deliver back to the tutor. If your child didn't do it, and then as an educator over here, you know that this consent form is mission critical. You need it before they can go on their excursion and all. And let's say today is the last day, all right? If they don't submit, they really can't go. And do you feel that the child should be admonished for repeated reminders being ignored?
I think if it's the first time, the second time is okay. And I feel that if, let's say, again, my kid is primary 1. So at this early age, some responsibility, most of the responsibility, maybe I feel that maybe 80-90% falls on the parents' responsibility, but I do think that maybe 10% of the responsibility should go to my kid. Every day also, I will check in with my son. Me and my wife will check in with my son. Like, oh, is there any forms that I need to sign? We will check with him every day.
Okay.
Like, are there any forms I need to sign? And then he'll show me. Usually it's homework lah. So I'll check his homework. I'll check his math homework, his Chinese homework, his English homework. So yeah lah, of course I'll sign.
Okay.
But if, let's say, I think there was one incident, there was this bird paradise excursion.
Okay. Well, they go fancy places nowadays.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was a bird paradise excursion. I believe I didn't sign the consent form. I can't remember if it's his fault that he didn't give me the consent form, or if it's my fault. But yeah, I am aware that I didn't sign it, so I had to faster drive down to the school and then sign the form.
So here's the thing, okay? Don't you feel like by doing that, you put on jalang the teacher in terms of the kind of cause and effect the child can actually learn from this situation over here?
If it's my fault, I will tell my kid lah. Hey, this is my mistake. Okay, I'm sorry. Next time we'll try to work on it.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't believe that the teacher is at fault in this in any way lah. So,
but if let's say let's say we shift this to it is a child's fault. Okay.
Yeah.
So the child repeated reminder, forget to do this and that and that, and now it's really mission critical, didn't hand up, and then the teacher is about to, I don't know, mete out the necessary discipline, but then your child actually snitched on the teacher with you, and then after that you come and swoop in to save the day from there. Oh
no! I don't think this is good, man.
But I think it undermines the teacher authority.
Yeah, of
don't
course,
you think so?
Of course.
But will this necessarily be, building a good character for the child, knowing that the child thinks that anytime if I need help, I press the red button, parents will come in to swap in to save me?
Yeah, of course, it's not a good message to send to the kid. And I believe I saw, according to Mr. Chun Sing, the minister, on the Straight Science podcast, he did mention this as well, that it's not setting a good example for the student. It's not teaching the student a good lesson either. For parents to escalate an issue so as to bypass any sort of disciplinary action. Yeah.
So you still feel like a bit of the provincial cane, the rod, is still necessary lah?
Not necessarily from the caning lah, not exactly like corporal punishment.
Yeah, I mean more figurative of speech lah.
Yeah, but more of like, if there is a consequence, he needs to own up to it. Right?
Is this a very Asian thing? Do you feel? Sorry, I have to bring the Asian thing in most of this. Like
I don't know. I feel that in every culture also there will be parents who are overprotective, right? Like I think in you're saying, is this an Asian thing from the parents will save the kid perspective?
No. An Asian
thing where the parents want to hantam the kid.
I think when the teacher want to hantam the kid, so basically like, in our education setting, we use negative reinforcement rather than positive reinforcement. I feel like it's we don't dangle the carrot and stick, we dangle the stick and the bigger stick. I feel that's the case over here.
No, but I think in all situations there will always be parents that are overprotective. And I'm sure like in this, like we've been in this side for so many years already. I'm sure that we have definitely encountered parents who are overprotective as well.
Wow, this is a very touchy topic. But yes, I do encounter them, and sometimes okay, let's just be honest here. We are providing mathematics and science tuition over here. All right, and they often say that mathematics is a grammar for science. All right, you definitely need a calculator to do your occasional logarithm, trigo, and everything. Like, how can you come to a science class without bringing a calculator? That I can't fathom. Alright, so if you're talking about basic like plus, minus, divide, times, sure. But as you got to JC and you're at the secondary level, the complexity of the calculations, you definitely need a calculator. It's part and parcel of it. So
my very often, because I teach physics, I teach math. Very often, right? Students will not bring their calculator also. Okay. So my work around this is, okay, fine, you everything mental sum, or you long divide, long multiply.
How to mental sum logarithm?
I'll tell them you go and do your Maclaurin's expansion.
Okay.
I'll tell them you do the Maclaurin's expansion. Yeah.
But then that's for them to know that, oh no, I'm stuck. I can't.
Yeah.
Okay, what about for cases like secondary mathematics? We are doing geometry, ruler, set square, protractor, and everything. If they don't bring,
Aga.
But it's just that
they won't be able to get the answer and of course they won't bring. I think if really we are short of time, I'll tell them okay, never mind. I have a set of like protractors because I know protractor is not something that students typically will have in their pencil box. So protractor I can understand, compass I can understand, but ruler I cannot understand.
Okay.
And
calculator
also
you
I cannot
understand, right?
Yeah, because those are things that you definitely must have in your pencil case.
Okay, so I just don't want to use this as a litmus test, but don't you feel like the lack of necessary tools that you don't bring to the class itself, it sort of show like you are not really ready for learning? It's sort of like a very strong non-verbal cue that, hey, you know what, it can be, I'm not ready for learning, or it can be, I don't even want to be here. I don't know why I want to be here. Like, I feel like it's not respecting the sanctity of the class. It's like, this is a place of learning. We come here, we must mean business. So you don't want to be here. Some of us also don't want to be here, but we respect the time that we come over here. We bring the necessary tool. Like, I think that to me is, forgive me for saying that, but sometimes I feel a little bit too quick to jump to the gun. Like, if you don't bring calculator for 1-2 times, I think I'm okay. Can be just a genuine mistake. But on repeated attempts of not bringing the necessary tools, it kind of shows your unwillingness to want to learn.
And you have students that don't bring calculator.
Yeah, but
do the parents come to bail them out?
Yeah, they bail them out, definitely. So for me, okay, my modus operandi with you is maybe slightly different, So I don't make them do mental calculation. I will gently suggest to them that you come back on another separate lesson to replace it. But I mean, if you want to continue to stay in here, then of course you have to do mental calculation. I think science like density and all, I think can still manual.
Can.
Yeah, but I do have parents telling me that, you know what, keep my kid there. I will come and pass the calculator to them. I think that is your definition of bailing them out. Okay, but this is a private education center. I mean, customers can butterfly and jump around and you go for other centers, but in a school, you can't change school. You can't say that this teacher has been nasty to me because I don't bring my calculator. I'm going to change school.
Yes.
So this is what I am very, very worried about. Like, school teachers themselves, they have a lesson plan. All right, and if one student, so I'm just wanting to pose this question to you. If you are a school teacher, because I remember you went back to some of the junior colleges to act as a
Relief.
relief
I did
teacher,
relief,
right?
yeah.
You know, so if you're doing it in a lecture, it's fine. But in a tutorial class setting, if you let one student not bring the calculator repeatedly and get away with it, okay, I'm using calculator as a proxy over here. Will this actually open up a floodgate? Like, you know what, I'm just a chill tutor. You know, you don't bring a calculator, I'm fine. Like, what message are you sending? Like,
I think at the junior college level, because everybody understands that they're all in this pressure pot, like it's every man for himself. So I think for junior college level, like just because I let one student slide doesn't necessarily mean that the other students will also take it as a sign that they can slack, because everybody, So this is specifically for the junior college level.
Okay.
But I understand that for the secondary and the primary school level,
it's a different thing,
it's
right?
a different story altogether, because like people are there. Not everyone is as conscientious about learning as in a JC, right? So you have to send the correct message as the teacher, lah.
But you now have to practice a finesse of being tact yet firm.
Yes.
And if you are overly firm, then that's when this loop will come in. They will usually, you know, tell their parents about what's happening in the school itself. And then since the parents have your contact number, then this whole loop will start to start from there, right?
Yes.
So do you think that actually, you know, teachers should not actually share their personal contacts? Like we share because we are private educators, all right? We have a mandate, we want to help you, we want to complement, you know, what the school is unable to answer you at some times. But now as a government school teachers, all right, Mr. Chun Singh did actually mention that they did not share personal contact numbers and also the answers message after school hours.
Yeah.
I felt like the education line is the teachers are pretty burnt out, you know. They go home, they still need to be an offline teacher. Then when they're at work, they are on-site teacher. So they are teacher 24/7. They don't have another persona, you know.
And even from working, I mean, I've been to, I've had some time in the MOE schools before. So the working hours for teachers are insanely long.
Hey, can you walk me through that?
I'm sure you understand that the teacher has to be there for flag raising, which is like 7:30,
okay.
7 plus, and they are essentially in school. I believe the earliest that the teacher can clock out, I think, is going to be like 1:30. 1:30 plus
secondary.
We're talking about JC secondary, the level, but hardly ever teachers clock out at 1:30. Usually the teachers will be there and they'll be marking their scripts. They have to juggle the CCA. They will have to. They got other administrative committees to be on. And I mean, when I was there, I have done relief. I've done contract teaching in the MOE schools before. Usually, I'm very acutely aware that I have a reduced responsibility as a contract teacher, as a relief teacher. But I see my colleagues working the full-timer MOE teachers. They spend a lot of hours. Like they come in imagine they come in at 7:30 and they leave at 5:30. So that is a good 2 hours per week. 2 hours per day, sorry. More than the average office worker that works from 9 to 5. Right? So that is quite.
And yet, when they are back in their family and all, they still have to sort of like morally obliged to answer those after hours.
Yes, exactly. And so when the minister says teachers are not obliged to answer messages after school hours, I think parents have to be made aware that actually, in reality, the school hours are really, really long. Right? So there is a huge window of time that the teachers are already sacrificing their time. So to ask the teachers to give even more, I think that's a lot to ask from our school teachers.
What can we be looking for in the future? Could you think that there will be sort of like a work number that the teacher give instead of the personal number?
I think this is the way to go, right? But it's I mean, from a personal preference
they would have two phones.
It's troublesome. It's troublesome.
What about just if the matter is not that urgent, we can go through email?
But sometimes there are matters that are urgent,
Then call the school. Then do the old school method, then the school will call H the teacher, the staff room.
I suppose. I think one thing that I personally do, and I think you yourself also, um, when I'm with my parents, I will tell them like, okay, you can message, but I may not be able to answer.
So we're not
So,
talking about in our
yeah.
center, how
So
we actually respond.
don't expect an answer. I think school teachers can do the same thing. Like outside of these hours, don't expect an answer. You get an answer, good for you. You don't get an answer, you wait until the next working day.
Okay.
Yeah, and like within office hours, I suppose if let's say it's really really urgent, the parent can like, hey, sorry, am I able to get a reply on this? But of course, I think the tone also will matter. But that is something out of the teacher's control lah. I suppose more demanding parents will be like, hey, answer me now.
Over here we do have a official chat group, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think we try to allay some of the common questions that parents might actually raise. Things like, is there homework?
Yes.
Did my son or daughter hand in the homework?
Yes.
Did they do the corrections?
Yes.
And if there are questions, can they, sort of like text you and everything?
Yeah.
I mean, we do have all these rubrics
Yeah,
in place
yeah,
in the WhatsApp chat group, but in those very emergency, like tomorrow is like the kids' examination already, then, if they do send us screenshots and we reply a bit slower, for me, what I usually tell them is that you just call me straight away. Then, it's like really urgent one. Then, I can empathize. But if let's say I haven't had this yet, right? Thank God. But I haven't had anyone like spamming me, call every 1-2 minutes trying to finish their assignment and everything.
Okay.
I haven't had that level yet. Have you encountered any of such cases?
I have, especially in this exam season, there are students who one shot, especially the JC kids. Oh my gosh, JC kids are
The questions are not those 1-2 minutes kind of questions, right?
Yeah, and they are difficult. So I think recently I had students who one shot blast me like 18 questions.
JC. Okay.
And these are JC questions and they are difficult.
Okay.
So I will usually tell my students like, hey, I also have limited time outside of your regular scheduled class. You can send me, and if let's say it's really, really urgent, you can bump the message, right? And I'll try my best to answer you. But if you're sending me 18 questions, right, obviously I can't deal with all these questions at the same time. Yeah. So I will tell my students like, hey, I understand that you may have questions, but I may be busy also. Just wait a while. If I don't answer you within 1-2 hours, bump the message. Then I will tell you whether or not I can answer you.
Okay. I mean, over the course of my career and your career, I feel like at the start we want to save everyone and reply ASAP lah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I think that's a good attitude to start off with.
Yeah.
But in school setting, now remember, you are a private educator. All right. You have only like maybe 5 to 10 students per class. But if you are a government school teacher,
36 to 40.
Can you imagine 36 on the eve of
gosh.
PSLE? All right.
Yeah.
Again, at the time of this filming, all right, there was this train fault that's happening. And can you imagine today is PSLE, and because of the inability to travel on time,
40 parents
you have
will be
40
texting,
parents, yes, on the eve of the examination texting you. How you? I mean, you don't have an assistant, you don't have an AD to help you for that. So I think that becomes very, very overwhelming.
I mean, on a slight tangent, I do believe the schools have informed the kids, the PSLE kids, what to do lah. Yeah, so I think this alleviates the need for the parents to actually contact the school teacher, the form teacher. So I think we are well prepared with regards to this.
But Viren, just to let you know first, I don't want to mean this in a ill manner but I feel that I kind of spoil market sometimes in this. I'm just gonna admit to you first, alright, before you find like there was it was actually yesterday before this recording. I woke up at 3 a.m. to pee. Alright, I'm not going to tell you about my nocturnal peeing habits and all that. There was a JC structural elucidation organic chem question that came out. I cannot sleep because I want to solve this, like literally at 3 a.m. this message popped up. I really want to solve this, So I stay up and I took like a good half an hour and I went to solve it. But do you think this spoils the market?
From a private tutoring perspective, again, we are the service provider. So it is up to us whether or not we want to answer lah. To be honest, myself, I have also answered questions
in the middle of the
night. So there are some, I think one of our current tutors working for us now, I recall when he was in JC, he was that one kid that keeps spamming me questions at all times. So I remember there was one one time also I was in the toilet also. I received at 2 a.m. a message from him like,
you saw.
Mr. Teo, how do you do this question? So I responded to him lah. But again, we are service providers. It is our job because it is our bread and butter. Like if I think we have this idea that if let's say we don't answer them, our income will be affected.
Yes.
But school teachers, once again, are not like this. They're not paid in this manner. They're not paid per student.
They're just paid like as a full-time pay.
Yes.
As a full-time government.
Yes.
So do you think that sometimes if a school teacher were to, for some reason, replicate what we just did here, 3 a.m. during the toilet run, answer a question, do you think that their kindness itself will eventually be weaponized by the parents to say, but last time 3 a.m. you answer message, what? Why now 3 a.m. you don't answer my message? Do you feel like there are people that's like that?
Yeah. There will definitely be some parents that will latch on to this, right? The minister also said in the Straits Times podcast that I think 99% of the parents, and we have the same experience as well.
Okay.
99% of the parents out there are great. They respect the system, they respect the teachers.
It's a 1%.
Yeah, it's that 1% that causes a disproportionate effect. And that is so true. That is so true. I think not just that so with regards to that disproportionate effect, right? A parent's words can affect the teacher, the administrator so terribly that it renders the teacher unable to.
But is
perform
this
their regular
1%
function.
of the population parents, all right? Are the effects that they are bringing on so severe and dire that it requires a 99% effort to deal with this 1%?
Yeah, right. So I believe there was one time, there were a number of times where we have received complaints from parents, right? And sometimes we receive complaints from parents, and I mean, we are the center directors, we are the center principal, we have to deal with this. So for ourselves, I remember when I was teaching my class, like this is happening, the parent complaint came in as I was teaching the class. So I know that it affected me, like emotionally. But I mean, I have to still continue teaching, right? So I felt that at that particular lesson, I wasn't able to give my best, right? And the same thing can happen for school teachers as well. If let's say there's a complaint levied against or an accusation that is levied against a school teacher, there's this nagging feeling like, hey, actually there is this parent that is unhappy with me. Like, I'm pretty sure that it will affect the teacher.
The mental psyche that they have, you know.
So maybe when they go into class, it could be subtle things. Like they go into class, they're not as enthusiastic when teaching the class, all right? Because their mind is in a different place.
Okay, but just to be clear, we are still, I think school teachers will still want feedback, all right? Constructive or negative, all right? They still want the feedback to improve themselves, but I just feel like if there is a channel that you reach out to them straight away, I feel like sometimes it could be more of like a personal thing. It's like, why? I've never seen any of this message before, but I'm just guessing if, let's say, you are a parent that is very, very vindictive, you're on a warpath because you feel like your child has been wrong. And I think the tonality and the kind of words that can be in these messages when you launch straight to the parents, because if let's say this went to the school can have some layering, some filtering before they summarize and send to the teacher. You know, they take the full blunt of the emotional impact first, and then they will summarize all of the important points and pass to the teachers. But if you can straight away talk to the teachers like that, I feel like, yes, like you're definitely right. If let's say you have one class and let's say you don't even need 10 students out of a 40 students class to send nasty message to you, but just one of them is enough to spoil your entire day, the way that you deliver and all.
Exactly. So I think at some point, Minister also mentioned that if there is one particular parent that is preventing the other caretakers, like the school teachers, the administrators, from doing their job properly, then the strategy will be to become we isolate this particular parent and then provide only one single point of contact. Yeah. And I think that is a good strategy. That is the way to do it.
Rather than you trouble multiple people within the whole groupings and all.
Yeah. So I mean, the school teacher doesn't just have to cater to that one student, right? He has to cater to a number like 40 other students as well.
Personally, have you encountered any parent in your years of teaching that is, give you that kind of effect that in class, I really cannot concentrate because there's this gnawing feeling that I need to reply to this immediately, and these parents repeatedly have this kind of impact, this effect on you?
I mean, not going to name names lah, of course.
Yeah, of course.
So definitely, and as mentioned, like because we are the center owners, it's not just our direct students, it's the students of our employees.
Of our employees, yes.
Yeah. So yeah, and of course, for myself, like my brain is half on the class and then half
on the problem.
Like how do I respond to this particular parent? And sometimes it's not even via WhatsApp, it's via email. And even if I have said my piece as well, like I am over there, like the anxiety associated with how they will respond as well, and how will I respond to their hypothetical response. All of this will take up mental and emotional capacity and takes away from my own teaching as well. So I think definitely.
I'm personally quite anticipating what the ministry will say in terms of setting up boundaries for school teachers on how they can be contacted, because I do feel that there could be a trickle-down effect, for our industry. I don't think it will be immediately, but I think because schools are doing that, so I think it's very natural that we take an example, a leaf out of their book.
I think I feel that the minister saying this is not so much for the school teachers, because I do believe school teachers and schools have certain safeguards as well. And the school teachers, I mean, sure, plenty of school teachers have very long capes. They are very willing to help their students. But I think at the end of the day, the minister saying this is not so much for the schools, but more for the parents to make a public statement to say that, hey, parents, let's be reasonable to our educators. And yes, I do believe that if, let's say, the parents have this learn to respect their school educators more, I'm hopeful that eventually there will be a greater respect for us as tuition center.
I hope it won't be like you close one door, then now all of the
because it could swing the other way, right?
Correct.
Because it could swing the other way when the parents are like, hey, I'm not getting this attention from the school,
so now let's
finagle our service center, like our service providers instead. Let's harass our tuition teachers instead. It could go the other way. But I'm hopeful that it will lead to better consequences for us as tuition centers.
But I think this is, again, it's definitely in the works already of having some policies coming out to rule out have a block of timing that the teachers cannot be contacted. I am really quite excited looking forward for it. Because I will also hope that when it's really time for our kids to go up to primary school, I mean, your oldest is in primary school, I hope that there are some changes such that it's healthier, the whole parent-teacher as well as the student relationship. I don't want to always have to think of like, hey, if my kid's not doing this, I have this avenue which is to go and ask the teacher. I want to make sure that my kids have some ownership. I think it helps to mold their character as well, to have some ownership and some responsibility in this whole education journey for them.
But do you think though, I mean, just now I mentioned that the teachers' capes are very long, right? So I mean, not all teachers are like that.
Okay.
But there are plenty of teachers that really they give their heart and soul out to their kids. Sometimes at their own expense. Do you think that with ministers coming out to say this, with the schools implementing policies like, parents do not give out or teachers do not give out your phone numbers, parents try not to text your teachers, like blah blah blah. Do you think teachers will still go ahead and give their numbers out to the kids?
Okay. So let's take a very macro view on this. Okay, I believe that if you are in the education line, I think most teachers have a generally higher than average degree of altruism. I feel like if you're in this line and you just want to go from point A to B, it makes you a good teacher because you know your content well enough to deliver. But a great teacher will always go beyond the calling. And I think that we don't compensate altruism, because anyway it's altruistic. I don't want to be rewarded for that. So even if ministry come down, they clamp down on these hours and everything, I feel like there will still be a workaround. For teachers who are genuinely very passionate about the job, I think that this will not really hinder them that much. But in all kinds of work settings, there's always the good worker and the great worker. So I think the good workers, I think what we are preventing here is to prevent the good workers from leaving the force prematurely because no boundaries are being set. So I think this will help this group of teachers that are, they want to deliver, all right, but yet they want to have a little bit of a work-life balance. But for those who are already, I'm very keen to go 100%, in fact, 101%, I think that this will still do little to them because they're not being burnt out by this. They're happy to do it.
I mean, sometimes it does burn them out. It's just that they don't realize it. Or maybe after maybe a long time you teach for 10, 20 years, perhaps, I think over time, teachers, I don't know if this is true, but teachers generally will develop their own safeguards. If let's say there is a parent out there that really is nagging them, I think they will learn to take a step back and then say hey, okay, maybe I should implement this policy of no messages after blah 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 time. Of course, this is a general statement. If there are any teachers that are out there who give your students like 110%, good for you, but please take care of yourself. All right.
But I feel that this whole idea of blocking out the hours, it takes really two to tango. Right? The parents have to be more aware that the teachers are still human. The teachers also have to know that if they were to answer out of the hours, what message are they necessarily sending to the parents as well? So it's a very slow but progressive movement, I would feel. All right, so coming to this case here, so today's topic, Weiren, do you feel that this is interesting or is this frustrating?
Well, I don't know. This is really bringing back all the memories of all the times where parents have complained students text me non-stop I'm very inclined to say PekChek but I just from pure emotional sake, but I believe that this is heading in a good direction. So I will say that this is TakChek.
TakChek.
Yeah.
All right. For myself, I feel like this is definitely, borderline between the TakChek and PekChek, but more towards the TakChek side of things. I think the issue here I want to highlight again is that all these are positive paradigm shift. I feel like if the parents itself are getting more woke, the students that will grow up to becoming parents next time around, they are growing up in this environment knowing that I need to respect everyone's boundaries. So I think it will take a couple of generations before there is a very healthy... It's a good direction, but it is slightly PekChek, all right, for some parents, because if you are very much used to instantaneous reply and all, then it takes some time to get used. But I think overall is for everyone's benefit of their mental health and emotional health from there. We want to know how you think about this topic over here, and we hope that for parents and also for students that's listening to the podcast in this period now, which is the PSLE period, we wish you all the best for your endeavors, and really, you are very prepared. Really hope that you just deliver and not really panic too much about it.
Okay, thank you so much.